Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today we have Daughter with us. Hello, both. How are you?
Yeah,
Hello.
good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Thank you
awesome.
so much. So, tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Izzy, the vocalist in Daughter.
Mhm.
Um, we're a trans black metal band,
Love that.
or we're half trans black metal band, I should say. So the band's sort of both cis and trans.
Yeah,
We've been going for about a year, and yeah, that's us.
awesome. And
Um,
where are you based?
I'm Charlotte, the drummer in Daughter, and I also do backing vocals as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So, where are you both based?
We're in East London.
Lovely. And how are you finding the music industry as, a diverse group? How are you finding that and the reception that you're getting at the moment?
So we sit in an extreme metal space,
Yeah.
and that is inherently very masculine,
Mhm.
and incredibly white.
Yeah.
And so it's a genre that sort of struggles with diversity and actually historically has some fairly awful people in it.
Yeah.
But actually, if I'm honest, I think the outsider nature of extreme metal means that actually it's weirdly welcoming.
Good.
In the if you can get past some of the challenges, actually we and certainly from the black metal side in London scene, I've not really ever felt any issues. There are
Brilliant.
definitely bands out there who would prefer that we didn't exist, but
Right.
they have the common sense to keep their mouth shut most of the time.
Thank God for that. What about you? How do you feel?
Yeah, most of the same really. I'd say people have kind of embraced us in the scene as well. Yeah, as Izzy was saying, there are certain fraction of black metal fans and people that play in bands that obviously would rather we didn't exist. But yeah, we tend not to. Well, we tend to make sure we don't book any gigs with those sorts of people or have any association whatsoever. So
Do
yeah,
you think that kind of that stifles innovation? Because obviously you're bringing something new to the table, you're doing something different and unique. Do you think that
So
also has an
I
impact?
think there's a lot of bands in our space, particularly in black metal, that are really pushing new things, particularly in the last sort of 10 years or so,
Mhm.
that come from a space of diversity. So there's, um, from a trans perspective, there's bands like femmes, there's bands like Karnstein, there's Rosclad, there's a lot of bands that are coming through that are the trans or non-binary and are pushing the genre. There's also bands like Zealand who are bringing in entirely new elements into the space and sort of bringing in blues and looking at it from sort of a post-colonial slavery perspective around sort of how that would be brought in. And there's so much new stuff happening. I think in my opinion, it's a really exciting time to be in black metal.
And do you find it a bit of a struggle, Charlotte? Like, do you think it's something that, again, you have to kind of keep pushing at boundaries? And obviously, being two women in the music industry that's dominated by males, do you often feel isolated and kind of a little bit on your own? But you're in a group, so you've got each other to bounce off. But do you find it a bit intimidating?
And it
kind
is as
of.
well.
Yeah, I would say because we've got quite a good level of support, as Izzy mentioned. We are part of a group called the London Metal Valkyries, which is a very inclusive, safe space for women and non-binary people within the London Metal Coalition, which we are part of. So it's the London Metal Coalition. I don't know if you wanted to
Yeah, so
elaborate
it's over
on that.
60 bands in the London metal scene that sort of come together just to
Brilliant.
make the scene better and to make sure that there's more metalheads like meeting up more of the time, and that innately means a more inclusive space,
Great.
making
Yeah.
better music and celebrating it. And so part of that from the start had to be looking at it from an inclusive space. And the Valkyries are amazing. There's a WhatsApp chat that I know if I said I'm feeling this, what are other people's experiences, it would just go and there'd be so much out there of women and non-binary people in the space. So it is, I've always felt that metal looks really like scary and aggressive and sort of unappealing, but actually it is such an inclusive space when you sort of break past that.
Yeah.
Yeah, got much more to say on that other than that. Yeah, personally, I feel very, very safe in that community.
That's really nice.
It's very welcoming and very inclusive. And yeah, I get on with everyone, even people that you wouldn't expect would be so
Supportive.
welcoming.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And yeah,
I would say, like, because we're presenting maybe a really positive picture of it. Whenever Daughter music goes viral, be that on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, we will inevitably get tons of transphobic comments.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
It's just a given. Like, I mean, it's the same with anything. You put your head above the parapet as a trans person, of course you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
So the scene does have that element. They just tend to not come to Daughter gigs because the room would be full of trans people and allies, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure they'd find it particularly welcoming.
Well, that's nice. And how did you both get into music? Is this just a pure passion, or have you done this for a while? Like, how did you both form this band and get started?
It's a good question to answer because I'd say we've both been into heavy music, but we only met last year, about sort of March.
Yeah.
And Izzy had already written the first EP, and I sort of we met up at a London Metal Coalition meet. Izzy was looking for a drummer, and I just so happened to be a drummer and a trans woman, and I wasn't necessarily looking for a band, but I was sort of just hanging out with metalheads, and just we met up, got on, and I wanted to get involved with the project basically.
I think we've both been in bands our whole lives, really. I think it's a genre where there is a level of passion and commitment that I don't think you really see in other places. No one, like, sort of R&B fans aren't going around wearing like t-shirts of their favorite artists every day and aren't like screaming about how much they'd like die for R&B, right? It's a weird place, metal, but it's the subculture element of it and that sort of space.
Beautiful.
You're kind of in it from with Ozzy Osbourne dying last week. A lot of people have been reminiscing about early memories.
Yeah.
And for me, my first memory of metal was when I was about 6, and someone at my mum's work gave me a bootleg tape, like a cassette, with Led Zeppelin 3 on one side and Black Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath on the other. And I remember like listening to Black Sabbath, that album, and just thinking, this is me. Like, this is everything I want to do creatively is in this. And I think you just, once you're in metal, sort of, it's very hard to leave it.
Metal, funnily enough, like I was born in the 90s, so I kind of grew up with a lot of metal around me. I respect all that music. I think it's, it's a way of putting something how you want to put it to the world, right? And it's a story. So what are your stories about? Tell us a little bit more about your songs and what you represent.
So, Daughter, black metal at its heart is about music that is actively trying to not be welcoming.
Okay.
Black metal is a sonic representation of fuck you. Like, that's the sort of the vibe for it. And so Daughter comes at it from a perspective of, well, actually, a lot of the time that's how the world feels if you're trans.
Tell me about it.
and actually, we wanted to create stories that felt like an experience of the world as being trans, and sometimes it is about transphobia and it is about that aggression and those challenges you face. but we've got songs that talk about everything from the death of Brianna Ghey and the way the media looked at that, through looking at how the fight we still have to fight from Stonewall sort of 56 years ago. We've got songs about chasers. We've got songs about the struggle of accepting yourself, your relationship with your parents.
Right?
Like it's a broad space, but it's always about what does it feel like to be trans. And we've talked a lot about our gigs aren't just, hey, go watch a metal band. It's about sharing and communing in those experiences, that you know that someone else feels like you do. And Daughter is the only band I've ever been in, I suspect it's true for you too, where without fail, at every gig we've played, someone has come up and one of two things has happened. They've either said, that made me cry,
Yeah.
or they've said, my niece, my nephew, my brother, my sister is trans and I didn't realize.
Oh,
And I think that's the important stuff for us, is we want to share the emotion of it, the struggles, the challenges, not just for trans people, and there's a lot of trans people in our audience,
yeah.
but also so cis people can understand that this is our lives.
Yeah.
It's not just a headline, it's real people.
Real life. And I think that's the really important part of it. And thank you for sharing that with us, because it can be kind of vulnerable as well. So how do you deal with that? Like, you've obviously got each other, but do you feel vulnerable, like sharing some of these
Oh,
unique personal
yeah.
stories?
Every time. I just want to mention about one of our songs called Mourning the Mask. It was a song that is very personal to me because it basically documents my journey and my relationship with my family, who chose to disown me when I came out.
Been there.
Like complete disowning from both my parents and grandparents. A lot of other family members as well have just cut ties.
Yeah.
So that song is a very personal one to me. I wrote most of the lyrics and Izzy did tweak them, but yeah. So we kind of we sing it together on stage. But I take over singing the chorus on that one.
Yeah.
Because it's basically and it's very raw, it's very emotional, and it's basically kind of, I'm singing about the struggles that I've personally had to go through with regards to that relationship with my parents. So that's just one example of, a lot of Daughter songs. We have the heaviness, we have the brutality of, and like the passion coming through a lot of our heavier songs, but then we also have that emotional side, songs that are deeply rooted in sadness.
Yeah.
So we try and write songs that have it all.
Yeah, I think my version of that is, we've got a song called The Girl That Slept,
Yeah.
which is sort of my apology really to the sort of younger version myself that didn't get to be because I came out later.
Definitely.
And so we dig into it. What I will say though is, there's nothing more empowering and freeing than screaming into the void for 40 minutes on stage. If like as a
Yeah, I agree.
way of, yes, it's emotional, yes, some of the songs are really quite challenging,
They're raw.
yes, they're angry, but honestly, I come off stage on a Daughter gig feeling so like we've made a difference, not just to ourselves but to the people we speak to afterwards as well. And that's why we do it. We do it because it matters to people. And I know I said it before, but I'll go back to it. It's about knowing that way that you feel, other people feel it.
It's relationships, isn't it?
There's a quote that I love from the AIDS crisis, where it said we go to funerals in the morning, we protest in the afternoon, and we party all night. And I think
Well,
that to me is so important when we look at the fight for trans rights at the moment,
absolutely.
is you cannot sit and mourn 24/7.
Or
You
feel
can't protest 24/7 and you can't party 24/7. You need to have that mix, and you need to understand that, yeah, I want to celebrate my community, but I also need to acknowledge some of the struggles that we still have to fight, and the wounds that we have, and the struggles that we go through.
That's lovely, actually. And how do you find the funding and making sure that you can progress in an industry that's very difficult to crack? How do you figure that out? And do you have to do outside stuff to supplement your music? How does that work?
Yeah, so most of the band has a sort of a separate
Yeah, day
income
job.
stream for like a day job. We Black metal's not the most commercially friendly music.
Mhm.
Um, so even sort of the biggest names in our genre are not not sort of Taylor Swifting it with a media empire. And like it's a challenging space to be in. I think what we do find is it's the DIY scene, it's the underground scene that actually is really supportive. And again, like we are so privileged, I think, that we do we do live in a very inclusive city.
Yes, we do.
And we are privileged enough to be surrounded in the metal scene by a lot of really brilliant people that support us. So it, I know that there are bills that we are not on
Yeah,
because we are trans, but I also know there are bills that we are on because we are trans, and the importance of that message and people wanting to support us.
Like London Metal Pride.
Yeah, so we recently played London Metal Pride.
I'll have to come next time.
Oh, June 6th next year. Signature Blue Brew, Black Horse Road. It's gonna be amazing.
Round, literally round the corner.
It's yeah, you should definitely come. It's gonna be crazy. I put that on with a guy called Laz from a band called Worship the Sacrifice, and we had 10, 11 bands, I think, all trans and queer bands, LGBTQIA plus bands, and we realized as we started doing it that it had never been done before. No one had done a Pride event in London for metal, so that's sort of how we work on most things. You just think, wouldn't it be great if this happened, and you go do it. We played Brighton Pride
Oh yeah,
last
Zach
week,
does. Yeah, my
and
friend does that.
like there's never been a black metal band on the same stage as Kate Nash.
I know. Well,
So we just
It
try and
was a bit
push
weird.
and make it happen and hope.
that's awesome. See, when I was at uni doing my music degree, rock was the biggest genre there was. Back in the day. So the
Yeah.
infrastructure's still there, but clearly we're not getting these artists through the talent pipeline. What do you think's going on?
I think metal's getting better.
Good.
In terms of major representation from a DNI perspective, it's still crap, but it's getting better. I think I'm gonna name names with Download Festival. I know they were there's some questionable decisions made this year around trans inclusion. However, last year's, and I don't know what was on this year, I'm terrible, I should know, but last year's lineup was demonstrably broad in terms of ethnicity, in terms of sexuality, in terms of gender, in terms of age, and it was quite clear that they'd made a push for it. And there are metal festivals that are trying. It is still a very male, very white very straight cis space.
Yeah.
But you do see bands coming through, and there's some fantastic bands coming through, like from across the world, from across cultures, genders, everything. It's just metal is, in my opinion, has never been healthier. It's just
I like
not
that.
necessarily currently the commercial flavour of the month.
Right, I get you. So do you think that has an impact on obviously how far you can go in your career? And do you think there's people behind you that are saying, actually, we need to see some trans people in this scene. We need to spotlight these people and share their story? Because I always thought rock was about pushing the boundaries. And like you said, a bit of a fuck you and I don't really care kind of thing.
Yeah, I there's a paradox in extreme metal,
Mhm.
which is almost by definition is a genre that doesn't want to be commercially successful.
Okay.
It's a genre that's actively trying to say, no, we are different. We we are pushing this more and more into extreme and more interesting and frightening spaces.
Mhm.
And I think that gives you permission to be weird and wonderful. Because if you are trying to be the next Chapel Roan,
No, you can't
you
be
have to be really careful, because you're trying to focus on what does the algorithm want.
right.
Like, we don't care. We can go off and do weird, crazy stuff because we know that what we do isn't in that same commercial space. So it gives you permission, almost like outsider artists, to go have fun.
And be creative, right? Bring
Yeah.
something to the table. That's beautiful. And what about you, Charlotte?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I do love the freedom that provides us, the fact that we can just write songs that, you know, that they're for us. Well, they're not just for us. Obviously, we write for trans youth, we write for trans people in general, and also, you know, just to sort of share our stories. But it is nice to be able to have that freedom to write songs that are a bit different. You know, we've recently written a new EP, and it doesn't really sound like traditional black metal, but we've combined elements of black metal, and sort of we've added groove in there, we've added a bit of death in there.
I remember.
In terms of like the structure, the song structure and the sound, it's very unique. And yeah, I like that. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to sort of write songs that would just to sort of,
Bland and same
you
old.
know, bland
Yeah.
and would just appease to the masses just to make a bit of money. I'm not interested
I
in
think it's what they
that.
ever do, right? You want to write something that's about you, but people can relate to it, right? So it's very
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that's a really key point, because I never saw any trans people in metal when I was growing up. There was no representation, and so
I can remember.
yeah, and so the one of the things I think is really important for us is we get a lot of young LGBTQI plus people, particularly a lot of young non-binary and trans people, and I want them to see that not only can you do it when it comes to, I'm seeing bands on stage, like, it's really easy. You should go do it yourself. Go get involved. Like, go do this. And I think if we do nothing else, if there is one person who starts a band that wasn't going to, because they thought, oh no, I am allowed to do that as a trans woman, as a trans man, as a non-binary person, like, awesome, because there was no one doing that when I was a kid.
Do you know what else I really love about this as well, Izzy, is music can touch places that words can never get. You could say, I could say it, right? I could say something 100 times. People won't get it. You listen to a song, people will get it. And I don't know what it is about music, but it's such a powerful tool. It doesn't even matter if you don't speak the language, you'll get it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a really interesting point to sort of touch on as well, because black metal, I mean, I spend a lot of time on our lyrics, but let's be honest, it's black metal. Most people can't understand a word I'm screaming about. And actually, there is a intentionally, like, again, a translation issue. It's almost as if extreme metal sits in another language, and it's like, well, so you can't lean into the words. You have to lean into the broad understanding of it from an emotional perspective.
100%. And kind of, do you think at the moment you're seeing a lot of representation, across the music industry? Do you think it's getting better, or do you still think we're doing a lot of tokenistic, you know, choosing people just because it looks good and they want a diverse lineup? What do you think they actually mean? They actually really want to see the change?
Cynical answer?
Yeah, please.
It's the music industry.
Exactly.
It's whatever's going to commercially make sense. Look how many people dropped their D&I policies after the change in administration in the US earlier this year. I don't doubt for a second they'd all crumble if they thought it was going to make them more money. And I think that a lot of artists are there because they make money, not necessarily because of any desire to make the space more inclusive.
Right.
A lot of festivals didn't go 50-50 until the Smirnoff Equalised Music campaign, when they realised, oh, we might lose money if we don't put a few more women on the bill. So, yeah, there is still challenges for it and at all levels. So,
Absolutely.
major events that you see in London where there'll be no women on the entire bill, from a metal perspective. So, it's still a fight. Yeah.
And what would you like to see change in the next couple of years, Charlotte? What would you like to see the music industry do to make it more inclusive, more fair, more representative?
Well, yeah, and it kind of goes without saying, definitely more trans and LGBT inclusion
Yeah.
in general, and especially promoting those individuals in those bands as well, to see more women as well, just in the scene in general, because it's very heavily dominated by men
Yes.
a lot of the time. But that is again what we're trying to
Change.
what we're trying to change with the London Metal Valkyries. We actually have a gig this Saturday, which is the second Rise of the Valkyries gig. We played the last one in November last year,
Yeah.
and it was an absolutely phenomenal phenomenal gig. That
Well
one.
done.
So yeah, I think that again is another thing.
Do you want to explain about the sort of what the purpose behind those gigs, the Rise of the Valkyries gigs are?
Yeah, so again, it's to promote more inclusion for women and non-binary people, especially within music, and also obviously it's LGBT inclusive. LGBTQ plus IA apply. I get confused with the
The alphabet.
you know what I mean. LGBTQ plus IA plus. But yeah, it's inclusive and
I think it was really powerful. The first one of these we did, as is often the case, sort of there were a lot of women fronting the bands, as well as sort of women in, like, kind of across the spectrum, but a lot of women fronting their bands. And so all of us were talking before about, well, what do we say? We're preaching to the choir, but we're also potentially preaching to people who just don't understand why this should exist in the first place. They're like, can't you just play music?
Right? Yeah.
Why do you need to talk about politics?
Yeah.
And this is the second one. And Aaliyah, who is the front woman for a band called Tales of Perdition, is incredible. Her drive, her commitment to making this happen is second to none. And it's people like that, like women like Aaliyah, who are pushing for that inclusion. And it's in our first gig that we did for Rise of the Valkyries, we had a non-binary sound engineer, and we made sure that the photographers were women and non-binary. And it's not just, in the most stereotypical sense, it's not just tits and corsets up front with a male-dominated backline and
Say
then
it.
the entire room is, yeah, no, it's true though, isn't it? It like, and the entire rest of the audience is men,
Yeah.
and it's saying no, it's everyone. I want sound engineers, the photographers, the bouncers, the bar staff. I want everybody
Drummers.
involved, the drummers, yeah, that
That
create the scene
authentic.
to be more inclusive. It's not just who do you put up front with a microphone in a hand.
Who can people see? It should be front and behind the scenes, I think. It's really, really
Yeah.
important. And if people want to find out more about your music, they want to buy your stuff, how could they find you and listen to some more of your tracks?
We are on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, everything. You can check us out on Instagram at Daughter with a V
I'll leave the
Metal.
link in the description below.
Yeah, you can, yeah, Facebook, everywhere. And as Charlotte said, this Saturday, which I did, depends on when this goes out. It might have already happened.
Oh, wow, it will go out next week, next Monday.
Okay, well in that
It's already
case,
happened, but hopefully I can get
we
down.
just had an amazing gig doing Rise of the Valkyries again. It was brilliant, probably one of our best gigs ever. We're so glad we've just done that for this Saturday. And then the next one we've got coming up is we're playing Coalition Fest on August 31st,
Okay.
which is 2 days of bands, which is a great one to come to.
The listeners go buy tickets, and I'll make sure I leave the link in that as well.
Absolutely.
And support my girls, that'd be really, really nice. And we've got 3 minutes left. So do you want to share any major wins or successes before we go on what you've been up to, what you're achieving, and what's coming next?
I don't know. I think considering the fact we've managed to write and record a full EP in just the last year,
Okay.
the amount of effort we've put into that as well, I'm really proud of that album. It's not out yet, but it will
When
be
is the
out
album out?
soon.
TBC, it will be likely out. I'm thinking probably the first or second week of September.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we're looking forward to that. I'm going to be really sort of soppy and actually say that the things I'm most proud of in Daughter isn't the music. Like I love the music. I'm proud of what we've created, but it's the connections.
Absolutely.
It's seeing people hug and hug each other with like tears of sadness and joy, but coming together and having those moments where they know they are seen and they are felt in that scene. And it's always one of the most meaningful and personal moments for me when I can look down and I can see people holding hands, people hugging, people saying this means something. And I've never seen that in any other band I've ever been in. And I think that's why I'm so proud of Daughter, is that connection we can hopefully try and deliver to people.
Not hopefully, you are. Not hopefully, you definitely are. You're giving hope. And that's the word. Not hopefully, you're giving hope.
Yeah.
That's what I love the most.
Thank you.
And Charlotte, anything from you?
Well, I was just the only thing I was going to add is Daughter isn't a personal thing. It's not a personal project. We don't do this for ourselves. We do it for the trans kids that are in the audience to have that space to be able to scream and shout and cry and have a mosh and have a good time, because the world is such a hateful place towards us at the moment. And they deserve to have a safe, inclusive space that is all about them.
To let out some of that.
To let out some of that
Yeah.
anger and that aggression,
It's the music to do that.
and the sadness. So, yeah.
We did, I know we're close on time. We did, yesterday was Trans Pride in London.
Yeah,
And we recorded a music video during Trans Pride.
lovely.
And we recorded it over the last couple of weeks. We recorded some down in Brighton for Brighton Trans Pride. And it's for a song called Forge Your Name, which is the current single we've got out, which is built around the Puberty Blockers ban.
Okay.
And was obviously on the credits of Dear Wes, and where we met at the premiere for that. And that song, so Jess, the director of Dear Wes, is also putting together the music video for that song. So we're really excited for that to come out soon. But Forge Your Name for me sums up what Daughter is about. Is we're here for you. We want to show you that we get it, but actually we're also in the same fight as you.
Absolutely.
It's not just, oh, like, yeah, you go, like, we support you from the sidelines. No, hell no. We'll be right there in the middle of the mosh pit. We'll be right there alongside you on the protest lines, and we'll be right there with you at Pride.
That's what I love to hear. I love that, and I can't wait for your video to come out. Please do keep me posted.
We absolutely will
We
do.
will do.
But thank you both for coming along today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for being patient with me. Big love, and I'll speak to you soon.
Swear.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.